Man, this was a really good game. I hope I can get a video for this out soon. I hate going to high school. Hey guys, this is your boy Max, back with another video. Like all of you could have easily guessed, I'm a huge Xenoblade fan, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was probably my favorite game I played in 2018. And conveniently, right after I finished the game, an expansion was announced. Torna The Golden Country was an amazing experience for me. I didn't have much time to play games or to make YouTube videos since school started, but since I got the game I pretty much played whenever I could, and somehow I beat the game in 4 days. This might only be a fraction of the time I spent in Xenoblade 2's main game, but the whole experience was a treat from start to finish. And I just had to get my thoughts on this game out. I know not everyone got a chance to play this game, and since some of you will watch the video anyways, I tried to make this video as spoiler free as possible. The last thing you should know about is that this is not necessarily a ranking. I just chose 5 things from each side that I wanted to talk about. Alright, let's start! One thing Xenoblade 1 and 2 completely nailed for me were a cast of likable and interesting characters. Thinking about it, it's probably the one thing I love most about both games. After all, spending over 100 hours with each of them and watching the cutscenes over and over again because reasons, there's bound to be some kind of special connection. From the start I was really interested in most of Torna's cast, mostly because they even played a main role in Xenoblade 2's main story, or just because it got built up through some of the cutscenes. The protagonist this time around, Laura, no, she's not Inoka, don't you dare comment on this video. She is just amazing. She keeps a positive and outgoing attitude most of the time, but she does have her inner struggles and she takes everything very seriously. At first I thought I wasn't gonna like her deeper voice, but it actually fits her really well. The voice acting in Xenoblade games will always get some hate, but I feel like they did a really good job here. Adam, for example, was a bit shaky at first, but later on he had some really great moments. And Hugo could speak a bit louder in some cases, but it was pretty alright for the most part. And the rest of the voices were just amazing. Mithras and Melosphere in particular had a great deliverance. I also liked that it gave us more background on Mithra and Jin. Both mostly focus on their bonds with their drivers. Jin and Laura's relation has a more romantic direction, while Mithra is learning things like empathy and controlling her power for them, even if she doesn't always like it. The lack of hearts to flesh some characters out was a bit of a letdown, but to compromise there is a lot of character interaction in the side quests and in some story cutscenes. The character interactions give the Xenoblade games so much more identity. But of course, a cast of pleasant characters isn't always enough to carry a game on their own. Enter my favorite thing to do in the game, the fighting. The battle system is a faster paced version of Xenoblade 2's system. Your arts still charge the same way, you cancel them the same way, and you still have your driver and blade combos. The big change here is the ability to switch between controlling your driver and controlling their blades, in a similar way as in the tag team fighting game. But instead of healing your damage over time, you heal all the red damage at once. This gives you a chance to take on enemies that you will normally never stand a chance against with those frailer stats. As a plus, these switches are attacks that can be used for driver combos. Not only does this encourage switching a lot, but this also means you'll be pulling off a lot more topples, launches and smashes. This feels so rewarding and makes the combat really addicting. It also changes how you build up orbs on your opponents. Instead of having to do a full blade combo, just using any special is enough now. In Xenoblade 2, a combo chart got displayed in the top right corner, but they decided to get rid of that for some reason. This makes using a full blade combo a lot harder, since you now have to remember all the pathways. A shame, because I really like the first stage animations. I love how all 3 characters on the same team attack all at once, even if you can't see it most of the time. Do I like this system more than Xenoblade 2's? I'm not exactly sure on that. While this one is definitely more dynamic and unpredictable, the original feels more rewarding thanks to how it rewards planning on ahead for blade combos. A change that I certainly like more are the use for the field skills. These were one of the most atrocious things of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. If I ever made a video like this on Xenoblade 2, this would probably be the number 1 for the dislike side, without question. I have no problem with using your blade's capabilities to advance at some points, but the problem was that you needed to have them in your party. The problem isn't exactly gone now, but at least it's nowhere near as bad as it was then. While only having 6 blades, the problem of having to go into the menus to switch your party up is gone, and there aren't any mandatory field skills you need to worry about. There might only be 1 blade with each skill, but at least there are no parts in the story where the blade skills need to be at a certain level to make progress. But I really hope this mechanic never returns in any of the future Xenoblade games. You knew that this would be an entry, right? I guess the fact that I used the normal battle theme for my intro was a pretty big hint. I'm of course talking about this game's amazing OST. From the first time I heard the battle theme at the E3 presentation, I knew I found my new intro music. The official theme wasn't even out at the time, so I had to settle down with this ripped version with a few audio problems. And just 1 week before the expansion got released, the official version of the song came out, along with the Gormat remix you're listening to right now. Except for them, there are 9 more unique songs, which doesn't sound like much, but you have to keep in mind that the game used a lot of Xenoblade 2's main music. Most of that is either for unique monsters or cutscene music. And while that might sound like a negative to some of you, I don't mind it at all, since the music pieces were already amazing to begin with and fitted so well with the cutscenes. Especially this one scene. You'll know what I mean as soon as you'll get to it. Alright, so I know that I said that I tried to keep this video as spoiler free as I could, but sadly that isn't really possible, as the thing that I probably enjoyed the most about Torna The Golden Country was the final boss and the ending. You can either go to the comments and click on the timestamp I left there, or skip to the moment shown on screen. Alright, here it comes. The final fight with Melos was without a doubt the best final boss I've faced in quite a while, and it's probably my favorite from any RPG I played up until now. The first phase might not have been that much, but after the counterattack scene, the artifices get introduced, as well as a whole new system, the Siren Gauge. Trading in your ability to chain attack for using Siren is a genius idea that completely changes how to approach this fight, but also adds a layer of depth since Melos can use his artifice as well. It becomes a constant competition to see who can get their gauge up the fastest. And to avoid making it too easy for any side, both gauges hit 0 again whenever one side uses their attack. Not to mention that whenever an artifice arts activates, a special animation gets played, and the artifice that gets hit gets flung against the battlefield, resulting in a very loud bang and eventually blowdown being inflicted on everyone on the battlefield. Compared to Xenoblade 2's normal final boss, this was a great step up in terms of gameplay. It might not have had the same build up, but it certainly had a similar impact on me. But that ending. As soon as I heard Drifting Souls, I reached for my nearest box of tissues. Hugo's and Milton's death were bad enough, but Mithra's breakdown truly did it for me. It was perfectly executed. Sky Bennett truly outdid herself here. Her screams still send shivers down my spine whenever I rewatch the scene again. The whole ending just had me holding back my tears. But I had one little problem with it. Gord had potential as a villain. It just sucks that they didn't do anything with him. You fight Gord a whole 2 times during the whole story. The first fight in Torgoth was pretty alright. It ended with Jin cutting his arm off, but then letting him live at the mercy of Laura. Then he basically ran away like a little bitch, only to get caught by the inland scientists. From that moment onward, we never hear from him again until after fighting Melos and seeing half of the ending. And when we finally see him again, he is this. What is this even supposed to be? I wanted to look it up, but apparently no one else knows, so... Personality? He barely has one! He was just a bland, forgettable waste of a character that felt like he was shoved in there at the last minute. Alright, so everyone skipped ahead, we're at number 4 of the negative list now. I feel like I should tell you that most of the points here will come over as very nitpicky. Because they are. Number 4 is the fact that there are only 2 titans to explore in the entire game. Torna and Gormat. I get it, it's an expansion, but it just feels weird to have this selection screen for the titans, when there are only 2. And even then, most of the time will be spent on Torna. The Torna Titan has around 5 different areas, while Gormat has just... Gormat. During the story they constantly bring out the other titans like Uraya and Indol, but we never even get to see them. Hell, Laura talks about visiting more Ardain, Hugo's homeland, so why didn't they? I just wanted my More Ardain remix. Character development in the Xenoblade Chronicles games was never a big problem. I like how in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, for example, every character had a little main arc in a story. Some characters got a little more spotlight than the others, but every character felt like they added something important to the story. Sadly, this wasn't really the case in the prequel. While Jin and Mithra got a lot of attention, something I greatly appreciate, I sadly can't say the same for everyone else. More specifically, Haze, Minaf, and pretty much all of Team Hugo. Like, there's literally a scene where Haze says she feels ignored, Laura acknowledging it, and then she doesn't do anything again for the rest of the story. But you know, she's one of Laura's blades, so at least she has a reason to be there. Minaf and Team Hugo didn't really have any good reason to go along, they just kinda did. I still like having them there. Hugo along with Bridget and Ogion made for some great tanks, and Minaf is a Spanish cowboy that rides blades and wields dual gunblades. Yeah. For the record, Haze and Minaf are probably some of my favorite blades, so of course I'm gonna be disappointed when it didn't do much. Come on man, Haze deserved so much better. I know this might be slightly contradicting what I said earlier, and I'm still grateful that the blade skills weren't used during the main story, but god, grinding them out was so annoying! There are a bunch of side quests later on that do require the blade skills to be at a high level. And this might not sound bad to people that haven't played the game, but this flows perfectly into my number one problem. Doing side quests is completely mandatory. Torna The Golden Country introduced a community system that works similarly to the affinity charge in Xenoblade Chronicles 1. The more side quests you do, the more people will join your community. It's a pretty neat system, it's pretty handy to know which side quest change you completed. But then your community needs to be used to advance in the plots. And this isn't even worked into the story properly. They just say, oh, we could be saving the world from Miles now, but nah, let's make sure this guy gets laid first. Most of the time I like doing side quests, but part of the appeal to them is that they're optional and that you can do them whenever you want. When you start locking the last part of the story behind them, can you even call them side quests anymore? I know I've just spent the last 5 minutes complaining about the game, but don't get me wrong, Torna The Golden Country is well worth the money. It might have its negatives, but the positives definitely outweigh them. This alone is well worth getting the expansion pass for. If you're still watching this, I take that you have at least a slight interest in the Xenoblade games. So if you still haven't considered picking up this game yet, I really hope I change your mind. If you don't like the long length that Xenoblade games typically have, Torna The Golden Country is an amazing alternative, clocking in at around 15 hours. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then feel free to leave a like or even subscribe if you haven't already. If you played the game, then feel free to tell me what your favorite and least favorite parts were. And for the people that haven't played this game, here's a bit of advice. Don't play the final boss with headphones on like I did. Just trust me on this one, you'll be thanking me later. This has been Max, signing out.